Have you ever cried during a movie and then immediately felt embarrassed about it? Like your body just decided, without asking you, that this fictional dog dying deserved actual tears. Now ask yourself something weirder. Why doesn't your dog cry back? Your dog can feel fear. It can feel excitement. It can probably feel something close to grief, but it will never produce a single tear because it's sad. Neither will a lion, a wolf, an elephant, or a chimpanzee. As far as we can tell, humans are the only species on Earth that cries emotional tears. Not tears from pain. Not tears from dust in the eye. Tears from feeling something. That should bother you a little. Because crying doesn't look like a useful survival trait. It blurs your vision at the exact moment you might need to see clearly. It makes noise that can attract predators. It signals weakness to rivals. If evolution is supposed to be ruthless and efficient, crying looks like a glitch. So why would natural selection allow something so seemingly pointless to survive in only one species, for hundreds of thousands of years? Let's get one confusion out of the way first. Animals do produce tears. Plenty of them. Elephants tear up. Dogs tear up. Even crocodiles tear up, which is where the phrase crocodile tears comes from. But here's the catch. Those are basal tears or reflex tears. They lubricate the eye. They flush out irritants. They're plumbing, not emotion. A dog's eyes water from wind, dust, or allergies the same way yours do. What's missing in animals isn't tears in general. It's emotional tears specifically. Tears triggered by sadness, grief, overwhelming joy, or feeling moved by something. That category appears to be uniquely human, and scientists genuinely don't fully agree on why. So let's start with the leading theory, because it's stranger than you'd expect. Some researchers believe emotional crying evolved as a social signal, not a private experience. Think about it. Crying is loud. It's visible. It's almost impossible to fake convincingly for long. That makes it a costly signal, the kind of trait evolution sometimes favors precisely because it's hard to cheat. A crying human is broadcasting one message clearly: I am vulnerable right now, and I need help. Other humans, especially in early tribal groups, could read that signal instantly and respond with comfort, protection, or support. In other words, crying might not be a flaw in the system. It might be the system. It evolved specifically because it works on other people. But that raises the obvious next question. If crying is so useful for social bonding, why don't social animals like wolves or elephants cry too? They live in tight groups. They support each other. They grieve. Elephants have been observed standing over dead herd members for hours, touching the bones with their trunks, returning to the same spot years later. That looks like grief. It might even be grief, but it's silent grief. No tears streaming down the face. No sobbing. So sadness clearly exists in animals. Tears as an emotional broadcast apparently don't. One possible answer comes down to faces. Human faces are unusually expressive compared to most animals. We have more facial muscles dedicated purely to communication than almost any other species. Our eyebrows alone can convey concern, anger, surprise, or sympathy. Combine an expressive face with emotional tears, and you get an incredibly precise communication tool. Other humans don't just see that you're upset. They can often tell roughly how upset, and why, just from your face. Animals communicate emotion too, through posture, sound, and behavior, but rarely through such a small, concentrated, visual signal centered on the eyes. There's also a timing theory worth considering. Some researchers think tears specifically evolved to blur vision on purpose. That sounds backwards until you think about what blurry vision does socially. It makes eye contact with a threat or a stranger harder. It can de-escalate a tense situation by signaling submission rather than aggression. A crying human, ironically, can look less threatening, not more. In early human groups, that might have mattered. Reducing aggression during emotional moments could have prevented conflict within close-knit communities that depended on cooperation to survive. Now here's where things get genuinely strange. Babies might hold the biggest clue of all. Human infants are remarkably helpless compared to almost every other newborn animal on Earth. A baby zebra can stand and run within hours of being born. A human baby can't even hold its own head up. That helplessness lasted for an enormous evolutionary stretch of time, and during that stretch, infants needed a reliable way to summon help instantly, without language, without movement, without strength. Crying solved that problem. Loud, distressing, impossible to ignore. Some scientists believe adult emotional crying may simply be a holdover from that infant survival mechanism, one that never fully switched off as we grew up. In other words, you might cry as an adult for the same evolutionary reason a newborn cries. Because somewhere deep in your biology, crying still means, come here. I need you. So if crying once kept infants alive and bonded groups together, Why didn't other intelligent, social species evolve it too? Chimpanzees share almost all of our DNA, live in complex social groups, recognize themselves in mirrors, and clearly experience grief, fear, and joy. Yet chimps don't cry emotional tears. Neither do dolphins, despite their complex relationships and signature names for each other. Neither do elephants, despite displaying behavior that looks almost exactly like mourning. That's the unsettling part. Plenty of animals seem to feel deeply. Almost none of them express it through tears. Whatever triggered crying in humans appears to be a strangely specific evolutionary accident, not a guaranteed outcome of intelligence or social bonding. Maybe that's the real answer. Maybe crying isn't proof that humans feel more than animals do. It's proof that we evolved an unusually specific, visible, and almost theatrical way to display feeling outward. Animals may experience emotion just as intensely, internally, without ever needing an external signal because their survival never depended on broadcasting vulnerability the way ours did. Humans needed groups. Groups needed trust. Trust needed proof. And tears became one of the most honest, hard-to-fake proofs available. So the next time you well up watching a fictional dog die on screen, or feel your throat tighten during a stranger's wedding speech, remember what's actually happening. You're not malfunctioning. You're running one of the strangest, oldest social tools your species ever evolved, a built-in signal flare for vulnerability that no other animal on Earth seems to share. And maybe that's not weakness at all. Maybe it's one of the most quietly sophisticated traits we have, hiding in plain sight, every single time we cry.